That first 2-year period of learning with AJAT, like Japanese was the only thing on my mind. And so it wasn't a case of motivation or no motivation. It was just like, I'm doing this.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Korekara podcast. Before I introduce our guest for today, remember to like the video. Very important, but we have the one and only Brit versus Japan, aka Matt.
But not Matt versus Japan.
Not Matt versus Brit versus Japan. Yeah, just to be clear.
So yeah, if you guys are in the AJAT community, you definitely know who he is. One of the OG AJATers. He's been AJATing since 2015, on and off, but he's been MIA from the internet. Yeah, no pun intended. But but he's back. He's making videos again, and we're really glad to interview him and catch up with his Japanese, what he's up to today, what his plans are for the future. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Oh, you want to hit the bell because we're going to send you bonus clips.
So hope you enjoy the podcast. Hope you enjoy the bonus clips that you should be getting, hopefully. Otherwise, you're missing out. You're going to be missing out on some good stuff. But hope you guys enjoy.
All right, Matt, can you give us a quick background of who you are and where you're at today?
Hi guys, I'm Brit vs Japan, or Matt on YouTube, and basically I've just learned Japanese for AJAT. I started in 2015, and I just talk about my experience online and try and help people to learn languages, and that's pretty much what I do. So yeah.
Well, I guess like the first question I have is, how have you been? Like, what have you been up to? It's been a while since you were back on the internet.
It's been a while. Yeah, I mean, with COVID and stuff, it's been a weird year, especially, I mean, I don't know about for you guys, but for me especially, it's just got really sort of, I don't know, just changing the way everyday life has been. It's just been like a major sort of thing for me, and kind of messed with my head a bit for the past year. So I talked about it briefly in a video I put up on YouTube recently, but yeah, I mean, it was weird because everyone else was getting lots of time off of work and stuff, so they had free time to do stuff. And for me, it was the opposite. I ended up doing a lot more work because I worked for a delivery company, delivering medication. So as you can imagine, with COVID and stuff, all that workload sort of went up, and they needed me more. And I couldn't really find a job in programming at the time because everything was shut. So it was kind of just sort of dealing with that, and sort of just, I don't know, it just became the norm, doing 12-hour work days and not really focusing on anything other than myself, other than doing that, And
right.
I think over time it sort of deteriorated, and I wasn't in a good place. I wasn't learning Japanese at the time either. I was sort of just, I don't know, just sort of floating, it just wasn't really, a good time. And but recently I picked myself back up and got back into making content, got back into learning Japanese and everything, and I'm doing a lot better. It's kind of I don't really know. It was a bit of a weird time. Yeah.
So are you still working at that job?
I'm still working at that job. Yeah. But I've made sure I've got like a certain amount of hours I do a week, and I'm taking a certain amount of time so I can focus on making content online and having time for myself, and actually sort of, have days off and take it easy, and yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me was, the sort of led into that was probably like poor eating and stuff. I think that was a big factor. I gained a lot of weight during COVID, and then I managed to lose it all, which is good. And that really changed sort of my perspective on life, I guess, which is kind of a weird thing to say when you think about it, but it really did sort of like boost me back up to, being a normal, healthy person.
So I guess like going back towards like starting with Japan and Japanese, can you tell us like your entire journey with Japan up to this day? A recap.
Yeah, if I can remember. It took me quite a while. So I started in 2015, probably around the same time, during the summer-ish. I just finished high school or college in the UK, and I basically, I'd worked so hard on my last year, and I got all the work done really, really early. And so I was left having to still go to classes, but I had no work to do, and I was really bored, and I didn't really know what to do with myself. And I was just sort of getting into anime, and also I was watching a lot of YouTubers, like people, like foreigners that lived in Japan that were making content in Japan about Japan. I don't know how I really got into it, but I kind of did. And then that sort of motivated me to sort of start learning Japanese. And at first I just followed the generic advice, like speaking from day one and like try and find a language partner and all that stuff. And I realized I wanted to learn a lot quicker than that. I wanted to, get the language down and get it down well. And I realized that probably wasn't the quickest way of doing it. So I started researching like quick, speedy ways of learning the language. And after about, after about a month of learning, after about a month of researching, I came across AJAT. Which, if you guys, I'm pretty sure everybody's watching this podcast knows what AJAT is. But it's all Japanese all the time, and it's just, it was a really good blog, about a guy who'd learned Japanese in 18 months. And I was reading through it and I thought, this seems reasonable. It doesn't seem like it's, like 18 months seems quick enough, but it doesn't seem like it's, an age. So I figured I'll give it a go, try everything that he's saying, what's the worst that could happen? I'm just watching anime, right? So I went from there, and I never looked back really. I just focused on AJAT for basically 2 years. I was just heavily into AJAT, did nothing else but AJAT. I limited my contact with English to like, basically I had no contact except for classes at uni. I progressed insanely quick. The only downside of that is it wasn't too great for my social skills. Which, is something that I'm probably going to be talking about a lot. I guess we can probably talk about more on here as well. But it was amazing how quick I picked up the language after just. Well, I suppose it's not. I suppose 2 years is still quite a long time, but still, it's relatively quick compared to the normal. What people know. And then I sort of after 2 years of like intensely learning through AJAT. I sort of had it on and off where I would do like AJAT heavily and then I'd stop doing it. Yeah, it was quite a struggle. And then I also went to Japan to see my girlfriend at the time. I kind of forgot that part. I did meet a Japanese girl online. Probably about a year before that. We'd been hitting it off ever since. And I went to Japan for 3 months to stay with her. It was only supposed to be a month originally. And there was a typhoon that hit, and it basically cancelled my flights. And I didn't have enough money at the time to buy new flights, and my insurance didn't pay out. So I was kind of stuck in Japan, which was a blessing and a curse at the same time, because obviously I'm stuck in Japan, but at the same time, I don't have anything to, I don't have any costs of living. I'm staying at a place for free. So I had more time to sort of explore and stuff. So I sort of just, took it on the chin and I managed to get enough money, thankfully, from the website. I think Patreon at the time. I think I started Patreon at that time because I was kind of panicking for money. It's really bad.
You're just help me get out of it.
I never actually said anything about it on there because I didn't want to feel like I was, asking for money or anything. But yeah, it definitely helped. And then, I managed to get back to the UK and then went back to uni the next year, finished uni. And throughout that whole process, I've just been on and off sort of studying Japanese. And it's never been like full on AJAT like I did in the first 2 years. It's sort of just been, playing around with it here and there. But I'm finally getting back into it now. I'm trying to immerse like I did before, trying to be like 24/7 listening and, trying to get as much reading as I can. But, it's difficult getting back into it. It's weird. Like at the time, I remember it was so easy, and it came to me like I was constantly listening, I was constantly reading. All I could think about was Japanese, and now it's like I have to remind myself to keep doing things, and it's a bit of a struggle. But
right.
But yeah.
I guess kind of going back on some parts of that story, you said your social skills suffered because of AJAT, but you're still able to meet your girlfriend. So, what's the story behind meeting your girlfriend?
That is an interesting one. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I say that because I think the long-term effects, it's probably had an effect. But when did I meet her? I can't remember when. It must have been early on in AJAT, and we were talking on Hello Talk, and yeah, I remember we were just talking on there for a few months, and then I said, "Oh, do you want to just go on Skype and talk? You know, actually speak to each other as opposed to texting?" She was like, "Sure, yeah, we should do that." And then it became like a weekly thing. We would like if I throughout the week I would like write down questions that I would ask or want her to answer for me about Japanese, and then at the end of the week we would like discuss and like share questions and sort of help each other with our language learning, I guess. And one thing that I managed to convince her to do early on, which was really cool, was like I managed to get her to speak to me only Japanese, and I only spoke to her in English, which is really useful because then, you know, you're not trying to speak broken Japanese, or she's not trying to speak broken English. And yeah, we were just language partners for like 6 months, and then, you know, I was like, you know what, I kind of like you. and then she was like, you know what, I kind of like you too. So yeah, since then it's you know, we've been together since then, and yeah, unfortunately though, I haven't seen each other for bloody ages, which sucks.
Oh, wow.
Since that 3-month trip, we haven't seen each other because I was at uni and I couldn't really take time off. And then obviously COVID happened, and you know, we don't really know when's going to be the next chance that we can go and visit.
It must have been like 3-4 years ago that you went to Japan, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So you guys just been long distance since then?
It's literally long distance since then. We've just been Skyping each week, and just, you know, thankfully I do a job where I can talk on the phone whilst I'm driving, so you know, we can still like talk and stay in touch quite a lot, but it is very difficult, especially with the time zones and stuff. Yeah, but you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting that you bring up Hello Talk. It's been a very reoccurring theme in the fight. Yeah, we've had some wild stories take place, so I'm glad your story kind of ended up being like the, I don't want to be language partners anymore. I want to be more than that.
I want to take the next step.
The next step. Take out the language. Just partners now.
That's so interesting though. I guess I've heard other people like have similar experiences with it, which is really weird because they specifically advertise they're not a dating app, so they obviously have an issue with it.
Right.
But
no, it's definitely a dating app. It's definitely a dating app. It's like 100% a dating app.
It's just a front for language exchange until you already know, like you said, everyone takes that step where you're not language partners.
I mean, in a way, it's a very cool dating app premise, because it's like you date the person whose language you want to learn.
Yeah, I guess it gives you something in common that you can start with, I guess.
Yeah.
True. But, I mean, that's pretty insane, though, having the whole long-distance relationship for all this time.
Oh, and Japan and the UK, the time difference must be, like, kind of difficult, right?
Yeah, it's 8 or 9 hours. They're ahead. Yeah, they're ahead by 8 or 9 hours. So it is difficult because, like, for example, we'll talk on Sundays, maybe, if I'm not working, and then I'll have to get up at, like, 9 o'clock in the morning so that we can speak at a relatively decent time, which isn't a bad thing, but, you know, I still get up early anyway, so it's not, you know, too much of an issue. But then you can only really speak for like a few hours, and like that's one time in the week, and so you don't really, it's not like you can't really see them every day. So yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one, but hopefully when COVID's over and we can, and you know, I can travel to Japan, then I'll, you know, go over and see her and then try and work out living arrangements and try and figure out how to get over there and work and all that good stuff. But it's going to be...
So you have plans to like move?
Yeah, I say plans. Plans to make plans. We haven't really looked into it properly yet. I've done a bit of research, but it seems like it's going to be a case of I need to kind of get either experience here first, or I need to find that one rare company that's going to take on a Japanese speaking foreigner that probably doesn't know too much about Japan in terms of like, you know, they haven't lived there like a Japanese person has for their entire life. So I think it's going to be a case of like trying to get experience here first and then build up, get at least a year in a company over here, and then just to have that on my CV will be a good boost to sort of get into a working place over there. Other than that, it would be like become an English teacher just to get over there.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. Would you say you'd go for the English teacher route if necessary?
If absolutely necessary, then yeah, I probably will. I don't think I'd enjoy it though. I'd probably only do it for a short time. I'd probably do it as a stepping stone to find work over there, because I feel like it'd be much easier to find work once you're actually in the country. You can find like a lot of places say like you have to be in the country for in-person interview. Although to be fair, COVID might have changed how a lot of that works now.
I like how this is kind of literally becoming Brit versus Japan
now. Literally. Yeah.
It's, we gotta fight to get over there. I believe.
Was that trip to Japan 3-4 years ago? Was that the only time that you've been to Japan? It's
the only time I've been there. Yeah, which I don't know. I made the most out of it, definitely, but it sucks. I really want to go back. I miss it so much. It was weird. Like after that 3 months, it felt weird coming back to the UK. I was like, I don't know. It felt like I was living in an alternate life for like a little bit. It was really weird.
You wake up.
Literally. No, it was great. It was so much fun. I was in Sapporo in Hokkaido, which is like, I guess it's obviously not a capital city, but it's like the main city of Hokkaido, the northern island. We had a great time. It was so much fun. I went and saw so many sites, went to like museums and stuff. Like, unfortunately, the girlfriend at the time, she was working a lot, so I had to do a lot of it myself. Which was definitely an experience, especially when you've never had any experience. Like for example, I got lost on the subway once. That was a thing. I mean, I've never been on a subway before anyway, even in the UK. It's like the only one I think is in London. And so like you're in the middle of a major Japanese city with a massive subway network, and like I've never,
Yeah, it's disorienting.
Very, yeah. But no,
did you get to go to like Tokyo?
No, I didn't actually, which is a shame. I really want to go there and visit and see the sites. I want to go to Kyoto as well. I did drop off in Tokyo, but literally just to get another flight to go straight up. It was, I didn't get to see anything. I actually do remember when I came off the flight that landed in Tokyo. There was I can't remember the program's called. There's a program, isn't there, in Japan where they Yes, yeah. And literally, I came off, like, my girlfriend was saying about this before. She was like, be careful, they might find you. And like, I remember specifically coming out the gate, and there was a cameraman chased, like, running with another dude. And I was like, shit. And then I ran in the opposite direction. I was like, I don't want to be on TV. I don't want to be on TV. It was so weird. I was like, there's no way they're going to be there. But they were actually literally there recording. It was funny.
They were waiting. They really wanted someone from the UK.
They wanted that content.
They did.
Yeah, I mean, I've met quite a few people who've like been on the TV show.
Yeah. I think they literally just sit in the airport all day waiting for flights to come in, which is a really weird thing. But yeah.
And so, I mean, in one of your latest videos, you kind of talked about struggling with motivation. So what was kind of some of maybe the hardest things for you that you've kind of dealt with?
So I guess a lot of it stems from just getting off the wagon, so to speak. Because as I was saying earlier, that first 2-year period of learning with AJAT, like Japanese was the only thing on my mind, and so it wasn't a case of motivation or no motivation. It was just like, I'm doing this. And then ever since I've kind of got off of doing that sort of intense way of learning, it's very much been a case of like, I have to motivate myself to try and do things. And I don't know, I think a lot of it just stems from who I am as a person, and I just tend to go in these sort of like stages of like absolutely no motivation to do anything, and then I'll peak and I'll be like, holy shit, I want to do everything at once. And then, it's just a really weird thing. So I'm trying to sort of like understand how my brain works, and sort of, I'm looking at the research and trying to see what kind of techniques people are using, and trying to figure out like if they apply to me, and like, just to try and improve my general daily life and work ethic and stuff. So it's like, I've been watching a lot of Daigo stuff. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's a Japanese mentalist, which I still don't think it sounds like very good in English, but like, you know, and he does a lot of good videos on YouTube, live streams and stuff, where he like talks about all sorts of different research and books that he's read, and basically just like creates like insane sort of like not documentaries, mini sort of I don't know what you would call them, but he basically just makes all this research really easily digestible and sort of just chucks it out on YouTube. And a lot of that's been helpful, like just, you know, little small tips and tricks here and there, like things like, you know, not having your phone on your desk when you're working, because just having it there in line of sight makes you get distracted and stuff like that. Just small things like that. So I've been trying to like just improve my work and stuff and try and like not get distracted by all sorts of different random stuff. And yeah. It's, I don't know, I think it's just a personal issue that I have. As I said before, like I just go dips and bows of like motivation and no motivation. So I'm just trying to figure out how to like stay flat and constantly just keep doing stuff, you know what I mean? But yeah.
So was it only like motivation with Japanese, or was it like everything
in general,
else?
In general, everything, yeah. There'll be like situations where like I would start a programming project and then, you know, I'd do that for a bit and I'd be really motivated to do it, and then I would just stop programming for like 6 months, you know. So it wasn't just Japanese, it's all sorts. But I think the difference with Japanese though is because I did do it for so long, there is sort of like, you know, a lot of what I do on a daily basis is still in Japanese, like all my software and stuff's in Japanese. If I hop onto YouTube, a lot of the content I watch is in Japanese, you know, so it still sort of sticks with me, if that makes sense, because I, you know, did it for so long. Whereas like other things like programming and stuff, I really have to force myself to go out of my way to like actually do it. So yeah, it's just sort of figuring out how to, you know, make it more easy for me to do things that are productive for my life, if you know what I mean, as opposed to just sitting here like a potato watching, you know, 10 hours of YouTube a day. It's especially difficult when you're working a lot as well, because, you know, you come home and you don't have much time to do much. And so I'm like trying to make sure that I do put in a lot of work on the website and stuff when I get back. And yeah, it's difficult. I think it was a lot easier back, again, in that 2 years period. I keep going back to there because that's the golden days. But back then I was at uni and there was nothing to actually do all day. So I had so much time for myself to actually focus on all sorts of different things. And now that I'm, you know, a working adult, it's quite draining when you're working all the time and trying to manage all sorts of different things. But you know, I'm getting there, and I think I found a sweet spot now, which is good. And I'm improving still. So
yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about like the first like year or two with like learning Japanese, and also like doing Anki. It's like it's almost sort of motivating to like tick that off every day and like finish all your reps. And you can see your stats and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, something that I noticed as well. And like one of the things that I've been using is like a little habit tracker. Anki has its like there's an add-on that shows you again like daily progress, like what's it called, a heat map. And it has like it shows you just like how much work you've done each day, doesn't it? It's really good. And so I've got like a little an app on my phone which has basically the same thing on it. And that has been really useful.
What's the app they use?
It's just called Habit in Japanese. I don't know why. It's just called Shukan. And that has definitely helped. It's not like the best piece of advice I would for habit building, but it has helped. Yeah, because I think habit building is a large part of motivation, I feel, or like lack of. Like, I think motivation is also trying to get yourself to do something, but if you can make it so that you can just do it without even thinking about it, then that's obviously, you know, much better.
There's like a nuclear option that I found where it's like it's this habit tracker called Beeminder, and basically you track your habits every day, and if you derail, it'll charge your credit card like $5.
Yo,
if you derail again, it'll go up like exponentially.
Yo, that's
like $10, and then it'll go $15. You can set it max cap.
Yeah.
But then you can, if it's a habit you really want to do every day, you can set a cap of like $8,000. So every time you fail, it charges you $8,000. And so I feel like if people are struggling to like with building the habits, that's like a nuclear.
Yeah, I feel like that would definitely work. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Now that you think about it,
if you don't do your Anki, you get charged $8,000.
It's like Duolingo on steroids, like the little bird trying to remind you to do Duolingo, but it's like, if you don't do it, I'm taking your money.
Little birds out here to rob you.
That's insane.
Hope you're enjoying our conversation with Brit vs. Japan. This is just our first part of our conversation where we talk about his Japanese history and why he left the internet. But in the second part, we catch up with his Japanese level today, nearly 6 years after he first started to learn Japanese. So make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss that. As always, we have bonus clips on Patreon if you want to support the podcast. But in the meantime, go check out this podcast we do with another OG Age Adder, Ben. Alright, see you guys in the next one. Peace.